Kings. Welcome back to Couch Critic with me, Dennis P, for what is your Chelsea preseason roundup, where we look at all the players we brought in, the style of play under Mauricio Pochettino, analyze it, rip it apart, figure out if this is the style of play that's going to take us forward to the titles, to the Champions League, all of that stuff. We're going to be looking at all of these little nuances in our game that Mauricio Pochettino has brought to the club. But before we get into all that, I do need you guys to do me a big favor. This is a new season. I'm asking you guys again for the same things because we need to grow this channel. Please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification button to keep up with the latest and the newest. And if you don't already know, I do have a sponsor for the show. They go by the name of Major League Socks. And fellas, if you ever want to walk in the footsteps of greatness, you know what to do. Hit them up. The link will be in the description. Now, I'd like to spend some time and look at our midfield. Obviously, this is an area on the pitch that I value greatly. I think that if you win the midfield battle more often than not, you're going to win the game. That's where the games are won and lost. It's where the most physical battles are, and where, you know, you really do need a lot of quality there. And Chelsea lost a ton of it. We lost N'Golo Kante, we lost Kovacic, we lost Jorginho. I mean, Ruben Loftus-Cheek is no longer in there, and we only really have one dedicated 8 in there right now who's quality, and that's Enzo Fernandez. And you know, for his part, I don't think that he had a great preseason. I don't think that he's really come to grips with the intensity that Mauricio Pochettino is demanding from our midfield. It's definitely at a completely different pace to what we saw at under Graham Potter. He certainly has struggled with the workload in the midfield, and he's an exceptional passer of the football. We know what we have in Enzo. We know that we have to build a midfield around him, and that will mean addressing it in the window, because there's certainly nobody at the club right now that we can partner with Enzo who I feel will give him the yin to his yang. There's nobody at the club right now that I feel like will be able to, you know, compensate for his deficiencies and then also ascend our midfield. Now, I'm not meant to be a contrarian, but I've been seeing a lot of things online where Chelsea, you know, when we're talking about Chelsea's shape and what we're doing, and a lot of people seem to be thinking that Chelsea are playing with 2 6s rather than what I believe is 2 8s in our 4-2-3-1 setup. Yeah, I just think that, like, for the most part, we're playing with a box-to-box midfielder and a playmaker in Enzo. And the requirements for, you know, a sitting 6 has been alleviated by the shape change, the ability and the personnel that we have on the pitch. We're looking to be more on the front foot, and our midfield is going to be the conduit to allow us to do that. I don't think that we're going to have anyone that plays in that 8 role, as I would call it, who's just going to be sitting in front of our defense and, you know, just basically being like an anchor back there. I don't think that that's what Mauricio Pochettino intends to do, even if we do bring in Moises Caicedo. I think that those 8s are going to be box to box. They're going to be used in high press sequences. They're going to be used in the final third to help us build our attacks, to help us thread through those passes and whatnot. And that is essentially how they're going to be deployed. I don't think that we're going to have a scenario where our midfielders are going to be stuck at the halfway line, you know, trying to defend or snuff out danger and whatnot. Our midfielders under Poch in transition are the guys that we first look to get on the ball, to play that pass in behind for our strikers and whatnot. And, you know, they have to be razor sharp in assessing where that happens, because if we've noticed, and I will get into this later, but like if we notice, our attackers are always looking to get in behind them, always looking to make that run. It's almost seamless. It's almost like telepathic, where, you know, when our midfielders get on the ball, their initial instinct is just release it into space to have our attackers run on it. And, you know, for this reason, I think Enzo is going to be so important in our build-up phases, in our transition, just playing that perfectly weighted pass in behind to get our attackers in. And yeah, for me, I just feel like this midfield that we're trying to build right now is going to be more all action and less specialty role. We're going to have more roles for people who can do a multitude of things, and less roles for people who can only do a specific role, a specific job. Currently at the club, it looks like we're going to be playing with Conor Gallagher in that 8 role. I mean, he didn't have a bad preseason. Let's just be real. Like, he again came to the camp really fit. You know, the things that you love about Conor Gallagher's game is his energy levels are always extremely high, and, you know, he's certainly matched the tempo of football that we're trying to play right now. He's certainly come back to the club and given us something that, is required in that position, which is energy at a high tempo. I'm struggling to find words for this guy because, as I said before, really what is needed and required in anyone that plays for this side right now is technical ability. And for my money, I just don't think that Conor Gallagher possesses a technical quality to be in that engine room for Chelsea. Obviously he kept it ticking over, playing that hot potato style that he's, accustomed to. But when it came to breaking the press, which is what I think is fundamental in the midfield, understanding where the soft spots are, having your head on a swivel, knowing where the next pass is before you receive it, he just doesn't have that. And oftentimes he gets caught in possession. He's just laying it off to somebody else and putting them under an immense amount of pressure. And that's not how you break the press. In that first, second phase, you need somebody that's going to get on the ball and understand where the soft spots are and has the ability to make the pass to break it. And unfortunately, Conor Gallagher just does not do that enough to sit in that deeper role for me. And there is a need to address that position because Chelsea, playing out from the back the entire preseason, had all sorts of trouble. We played against a lot of teams in the preseason that are very good at high pressing and understand their assignments and whatnot. And under the tutelage of Mauricio Pochettino, I really do feel like we have an understanding of how we want to play. We want to play a little bit more direct. We want to play a little bit more on the front foot. But that first phase, playing out from the back, we need midfielders who understand what they're doing there. And, when Enzo's marked out of the game, I don't think that we have a natural midfielder that can assess what's happening and play us out. Now, with that said, I should say that, we did see some good performances from Andrey Santos all over the social medias and whatnot, the platforms and whatnot. Everyone is raving about Andrey Santos and what he's provided at such a tender young age of 19 for Chelsea. And I would agree. I think that he is going to be a fantastic player for us. I just don't necessarily believe that he is ready to play in the engine room for a Chelsea team that is building from the back and is trying to play on the front foot. To be honest with you, I don't even think that he is a CDM per se anyways. I think that he's more of a number 8 central midfielder and a guy that is better in the second phase of the build-up rather than building out from the back and being the deepest collector and the guy that initiates our attacking moves. And in a few instances, I think in the preseason, we did see Chelsea play him a solo 6 role, and I think that we struggled. I think we struggled mightily to play out. I think that we struggled mightily to find where the angles were, where to build attacks from. And when he did come deep to collect, I think that there was some confusion from time to time between him and Thiago Silva as to who's going to be building out of that first phase. And you saw Thiago Silva directing him where he needs to be and whatnot to receive the ball or create space, which is something that you also have to understand in the midfield. And there were times where Kepa, as our goalkeeper, just did not recognize or did not trust him enough to give him the ball in these dangerous areas and trust that he's going to do the right things with it. So I think a lot of that just culminated with Chelsea having a lot of trouble building from the back when we played with the solo 6, as Santos was in a couple of the games, I do believe, for a few minutes here and there. If you're going to tell me that Chelsea are going to contend for the top 4 positions right now with Andrey Santos as one of our 2 8s or the second, one of 3 8s in our midfield right now, I tell you that it's not likely for me. It's just not. I think he has an incredible talent. I think that he has a bright future ahead of him, but he's just not ready to be the midfielder that we will need him to be in order to challenge for, some honors this year. Now, we did get some minutes to Casadei in the midfield, and he is a powerful runner. He reminds me of Ballack. I mean, obviously you don't want to have comparisons at this young of an age, but his stature, his size, his elegant feet and whatnot. I feel like this guy reminds me of Michael Ballack. Not necessarily as a number 6, more as a number 8, number 10, a guy that can just maraud through the midfield and, has an eye for a pass as well. Not the most accurate in the preseason, but I think that there's something there to build on. There's a guy that understands where he needs to be on the pitch and is not afraid to take the ball and just slalom with it. I think that he has that ability in him, and he's going to have to go on loan. I think that he needs a little bit more seasoning before he can come back into the Chelsea side. There's rumors of him going to Leicester City. I think that when Chelsea are asking our number 8 or number 10 to come deep and make up a midfield 3, his awareness there has to be better. This is such an important part of what we're going to be doing this season. Like, teams are going to press us from, very high up the pitch. And if we don't have midfielders in position who understand where they need to be spatially, who understand what to do when they get on the ball, who have the quick assessment where they need to play the next pass to, we're going to struggle mightily. As much as Chelsea look good in the preseason, there are aspects of that game, there are aspects of their overall game that need a lot of work. And for me, it's in the build-up phases. Like, are we getting our most gifted ball carriers on the ball, our most gifted thinkers on the ball enough? And no, I don't think that we have. I think that for a lot of the games, our midfield was bypassed to get into our attackers because either they weren't in position to come and collect, they weren't trusted to come and collect, or they just weren't recognized as viable passing outlets. So I think that has to exist. That has to exist. Of course, we can show the ability to go more direct into our attackers and allow for attacks to, build in the final third. But we also have to show the ability in our build-up phases that the likes of Carney Chukwuemeka, Gallagher, Enzo, who's obviously has the quality to do that, whoever's on the pitch, Andrey Santos, have the ability to assess what's happening on the pitch and build through the midfield. Now, obviously, a lot of the problems that I have with the midfield will be addressed by a couple of signings. Obviously, there's lots of talk right now about Moises Caicedo joining Chelsea, and I am all for it. He is an all-action midfielder, complete midfielder, a guy that when he wins the ball, when he tackles, he's a guy that when he wins the ball, the opposition stay tackled. It's not like it's a duel that can be contested. Like, when he wins the ball, he wins the ball. And that's a quality that we certainly need in that midfield. But one of the skill sets that we are most relying on from Moises Caicedo is his build-up play, his ability to assess where he needs to be. He's very good at recognizing where he needs to be. He's excellent and elite, I would say, at using his body to shield off the attackers, defenders, and to get into his dribbling sequences from there. He's excellent at that. Like, that's the one skill that I think that he's used to perfection at Brighton, like his ability to just shield the man, turn, and get into his dribble and galloping forward. And if he can bring that to Chelsea, just the strength and composure on the ball, and then also the ability to dribble past when he needs to, the ability to assess where that through ball needs to go, if he can bring all of that to Chelsea, then I think that we're going to have a midfield that is going to be fantastic and very, very difficult to play against. We just got to get it over the line, and I don't want to talk about the fee, because for me, if Chelsea get anywhere near 100 million for him, I think that it's an overpay for the skill set that he has right now. I think that Moises Caicedo is probably about a 65, 70 million pound player. But of course, Brighton don't want to let him go for less than, 90 or something like that. And I feel like if Chelsea get anywhere near that, for a want-away player, we're playing overs. But in the end, what most people will tell you is, as long as we get the player, it won't matter. And I tend to agree, but I feel like if we end up paying overs again for Moises Caicedo, it's just going to have a knock-on effect on all of our subsequent transfers going forward. So I'm hoping that we can, whittle down that fee a bit and get Moises Caicedo in our midfield with Enzo. And, hopefully, that would be the building blocks for Chelsea going forward. Now, I do think that Chelsea have been evaluating another player in the transfer market that I think will add a ton to our midfield. And that player is Tyler Adams, the American. And tough tackling, all action, will run through walls for you. A guy that is so capable at winning tackles, winning the ball, reading plays, plays with an immense amount of energy. If there's one thing that Chelsea's midfield lacked last season, was just energy. We just did not have anyone to provide us with energy, tough tackles, and just an ability to press effectively. Like, we were just so easily cut through no matter who was on the pitch. I think Tyler Adams is an underrated footballer. I think because he played at Leeds, a lot of people don't recognize that the skill set that he possesses in reading the game, winning tackles, playing those rangy passes that I've been talking about throughout this video. If he does come in, I think that is a perfect marriage. A guy that played in a system in Leeds that, high pressing all over the place and winning tackles high up the pitch, And I think that that's exactly what Chelsea are trying to employ here. And we need midfielders that not only understand how to play that way, but also understand how to assess where the gaps are, and can you compensate for where these gaps are if we do get played through our high press. And I think that in Tyler Adams you have a guy that can do that. If he comes in, I think the complement of players that we have in the midfield will be closer to a complete midfield. We'll have the pressing ability, we'll have the tough tackles, we'll have the interceptions, we'll have guys that know how to read the game a little bit, we'll have the long rangy passes, we'll have the interplay, the short passes and whatnot with Enzo and whatnot. We will have the ingenuity in the final third, and it'll just be a little bit more well-rounded than we've seen in the past, especially within the last season at Chelsea. And I'm all for it. At 20 million, a snip. I mean, a guy like that at 20 million is, that's a desirable fee for a guy that brings a skill set that Tyler Adams brings to the table.